substantial. Okay guys, we got a lot going on here. My goal today is to see if we can mount this roof rack on the Jeep with one person. What I'd like to do is put the sides on and then try to build it on the Jeep so I'm not having to lift something up that's real heavy by myself. Just to see if one person can do this easily. Now this is the lit one. It came with all the lights. There's some side lights there, which I think is kind of cool. But basically there's a million pieces of nuts and bolts and stuff. So, and there's no instructions. So we're gonna go through this kind of step by step. I'm not gonna kill you with a lot of details, but we are gonna hit on some high points. You gotta pay attention to the hardware. These sides right here, that hold the ladder, there's a couple different sizes, and maybe you can kind of see from the angle there. Some are a little bit shorter, so we got to pay attention to that. I got to figure that out, which one works where. Okay, it came really well packaged. It took about 20 minutes to cut all this stupid padding off, but everything is padded really well and not scratched. So at least I have to give them that. And it all fit in this box. This thing weighs 150 pounds. My 4 old buddies are gonna heckle me for this because I'm putting this on my Jeep, but what I want to do is engineer it so that I can remove it easily with 2 people. So I want to be able to build it, put it on, and then I might have to re-engineer the hardware here so that I can unbolt it pretty easily and then get the whole thing off, leaving the mounting hardware in place. That's my hope. That way if we go on some real severe four-wheeling where I don't want all the top weight on, I can take it off pretty easily. Okay, let's see how it goes. Okay, so as far as these pieces go, there's 6 that look similar, but only 4 are alike and the other 2 are alike. So pay attention to these. This isn't hard though. There's 4 of these that don't have any slots along here, but just have these right here. So these are the middle and upper ladder rungs. Okay, the bottom ladder rungs look like this. So they have more slots in the front. They also have bolt holes. There's 1, 2, 3 there. And then there's access holes here in the top, okay? So there's 2 of these. So these will go on the bottom. They actually go like this with this part up. And this part where these slots are will go on the mounting brackets along the side of the Jeep. So how I figured this out was I measured the bolts that hold down the hardtop. So I started at the rear. I put this in the center of the bolt hole. The middle bolt hole is at 12¼ inches. The front bolt is at 24½. So basically I just kind of organized my brackets until it made sense. So I'll set this in the middle of this mount hole right here, and then we'll measure up 12¼ inches, which is about right there for that center hole. And then from there, we'll measure up to 24½, and that's about center right there. Okay, so now this obviously isn't 24 inches wide. This is only 19 inches wide. So we have to orient the brackets so that the mounting holes for the hardtop optimize the placement of these holes so that this fits on it. And now, try to put this like this is a little hard to see, but these all line up now, okay? So that one's gonna go there, this one's gonna go here, this one's gonna go here. Now here we're talking about the passenger side. This is the passenger side, okay? So this is gonna be able to sit on top of those brackets like that and hold the weight of the roof rack. So now that I know that, I can go ahead and get these installed, and I'm not gonna tighten anything down. This is all gonna stay loose until I get it all put together, and then we'll start tightening all the bolts down. But basically all these holes line up now. That one lines up, that one lines up, and that one lines up. Now, just the opposite is going to be true now that you have the passenger side done. Now we know this is going to be the driver's side layout. 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes. There's actually twice as many flat washers as there are of these bolts. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like for each bolt and nut assembly. Okay, again, so for this ladder part, this is the upper part that's going to go up over the top of the hard top. This is a regular rung with no holes in the top or bottom, regular rung. This bottom rung again has the slots in the bottom, the access holes in the top, okay? And then just bolt it up. Okay, so then when you go to bolt these together, make sure that you bolt one of the taller ones to one of the shorter ones. Okay, once you get your ladder assembled, this is one that you definitely want to go ahead and assemble because you're not going to be able to do this later once you mount it on the Jeep. You're not going to be able to get to these. So go ahead and tighten these down. Okay, and here, you know, an extension or something with the wobble tip on it, that'll allow that head to kind of wobble around a little bit. That'll allow you to get lined up better and stay in the hole better. Okay, right or wrong, I don't know, but I'm trying to do just one side at a time. So I got all 3 brackets in, pull the 3 bolts out, right? that black bolt there. There's 2 more up there. I've set them back in place, but basically all I did was put the pry bar underneath there, pried this up gently until it came up high enough. I didn't try to pry that end very high. I just put that bracket in back here first, slid it forward, put the second bracket in here, and put the third bracket right here. Got them all lined up, got the screws in place, and now hopefully we can drop it in place here. Okay. Good, now we'll see if we can tighten these bolts down. These aren't very long, these existing bolts, so we'll see how they do. Okay, so there's our 3 brackets. We're on the driver's side, of course. As you can see, let's set this in place, see if these line up. Okay, so we'll just set it there. It should stay on its own. And looks like those holes line up, and those do, and those do. Great. Now let's look at the top here. And so this 1 hole piece here, this is the longer one, goes to the front. The one with 2 holes is the one that goes to the rear. Now, you may have noticed in recent manufacturing, a lot of the trucks, the beds kind of taper and get narrower toward the rear. The same with this Jeep, it gets narrower toward the rear. And so that's why this bracket's longer in the front, because the roof rack is going to be pretty much straight along here. So that compensates for the taper in the back of the Jeep. Okay, so these are just a real pain to get on. So I'm going to get some long bolts and some coupler nuts that are those long nuts, right? That I can just put down and thread right on real easily and then just run down. This one's not that hard because you have that gap there, but these ones are kind of a pain to get to. So for quick on and quick off, which I'm hoping to be able to do, kind of a quick on, quick off thing, I would definitely want to get those coupler nuts. All right, so lights obviously go to the outside. This piece goes to the rear that has the couple 45-degree angles on it. This piece with the long 45 goes to the front. Okay, that's what that looks like. Back here in the rear, that's what that looks like. So far, so good. Don't forget the flat washers underneath the bolts. And also, I'm not tightening anything down yet. I just want to get it all together and make sure it all kind of lines up, and then we'll tighten everything down. Okay, we've got both sides on. Of course, they're just loosely attached here. And what I want to do is leave it all loose, of course, until we get it all nailed together. But now let's go ahead and get these on. I want to go ahead and kind of reinforce this up here. We're going to use this bracket right here. So this is the part that goes in the rain gutter. And this will go up underneath. And these 2 slots, these 2 forward slots right here, those match up. So this little thing drops down in the rain gutter like that. And then that lines up there. Okay, so that little piece right there slides up underneath the rain gutter like this, or hooks underneath the rain gutter. Now this long gold bolt, there's 2 of these, and we'll just use a washer there. Stick it up through that slot right there. And this hole is sort of tapered down, so you have to kind of angle the bolt up. All right, and I am using a step ladder on both sides. So far, really, half the time I've been standing on the tire, and you could stand inside the door and pretty much access everything, I think, without having to use a step ladder even. So when you're looking at this, these 3 holes along the back here for this back cross piece are a little bit offset, so that'll keep you from getting this upside down. So here I'm just standing on the bumper. It's working well for this back piece. So I'm going to tighten this back piece down just to give it some rigidity, because anything else that I try to tighten down or square or whatever, this isn't going to affect it. So on this front part, if you don't have somebody helping you, make sure you pad these bolts that stick down. Okay, and that's what that'll look like. This was almost a mistake because the ramps don't really go in like that, but if you drop it in and put it at an angle, they seem to go in okay. Whew! So where he doesn't have to start taking it apart. All right, so if you find you've got your pieces you're trying to fit together and you got your bolt on one side and you're trying to put the nut on the other side and trying to get it threaded and you just can't seem to get it threaded, I kept thinking, well, maybe that's stripped or something's wrong or it's the wrong size. That's not the case. The reason is because these split washers are so split and so wide. So I just take a little channel lock and smash it flatter like that. And now it's not quite as wide. And now then I can thread the nuts on the bolts more easily. And just so you can see what this looks like, where what bolts go where on the frame here, when we're looking at this piece and this piece that come up from the ladder, okay, those bolt slots are narrow. They're real close together, but these frames actually fit. These cross pieces actually fit on these slots that are wider apart. Okay, so basically you'll have your ladder attachment there, cross piece there, ladder attachment there, another cross piece here. All right, so we've got all the bolts and nuts in all the way around. These front ones where you're sandwiching this bracket right here, this cross piece and the side piece, these bolts weren't long enough. Okay, so I had to get some, and I just used the same, I just got some metric bolts that are a little bit longer and hex heads. And so I ended up using 4 of those. There, and there. Okay, so that was enough to get enough thread to get the nut on. All right, so good. So that's working well. Now, how do I tighten this down? I've already got the back tightened down, so the side pieces are tightened against the back pieces like that. Over there, the side piece is tightened against the back piece. So I have basically a square that's tight, and the front is tied in. The front piece is tied into the side pieces as well. So now what I think I want to do is just make sure that these ladders are pulled out as far as possible and that these side frames are pushed in as far as possible. Now I really wanted to put these bolts through the bottom. It would have been easier to get the nuts and the washers on, but you can't get anything on it to tighten it because there's not enough space. So unless you have a real small Allen wrench, I didn't try that, but maybe you could get away with that. Anyway, so let's go ahead and pull. We're going to push this way and pull the ladder part that way. So it looks like that, and that'll get the ladder to stand off away from the window. Same thing with this back one here. Let's do the same thing. We're going to pull that. See, there's the ladder part coming through. We're going to pull that the other direction. Okay, so now I've got a good gap between the ladder and the window. It's not going to contact the body even down low down there. So let's go tighten down the other side and then see what it looks like. And just keep in mind, you know, the frame that's this whole rack is attached to these ladders on the side, which are attached to the tabs on the side. So this rear part of the rack can move side to side pretty. I mean, I think once it's tightened down, it probably won't move very much, but the rigidity to keep it from moving side to side really comes from those front brackets that actually stick into the gutter and tighten down. So that's really going to keep the front of the rack from going side to side. The back of it may wiggle a little bit. And that's why I want to make sure I get these ladders pulled away from the body or from the top as much as possible. In case it does shift side to side, it won't be hitting the top. Okay, now looking at the gap on both sides, it's about the same. So that's nice. That's a nice gap. It doesn't touch, it's not even close down there at the bottom on either the front or the back. So that's good, you know, way down there. So nice. All right, let's get this tightened down. I think what I'm going to do now is tighten down these front brackets. We'll get these tightened down first, and then we'll tighten down this outer part. So for this front part, I'm just going to use a little piece of wood. I'm going to kind of pry up, and hopefully that'll kind of put all the pieces of metal in place, get it up as high as possible, so when I tighten it down, hopefully it won't sag as much. Okay, so far so good. There's plenty of a gap there. I was worried these longer bolts that I chose would stick down and maybe scrape the top, but there's easy an inch there, and maybe even an inch and a half, depending on where the trough is on the roof. Okay, so yeah, let's go do the other side. All right, now we'll tighten these ends down. Just make sure everything's in alignment. Okay, just to recap, we tightened all 4 corners first. Then we pulled the ladders out and tightened those bolts. Pulled that ladder out over there and tightened those bolts. Then we pushed this up here, tightened these bolts down. Same thing over there. Then we tightened this outer part here and outer part there. Looks like that's given us a lot of good clearance. Now we can go around and finish the bolts here on the top. Because these are all loose, where these other cross members, these 4, we'll tighten those down. And then last, we'll tighten down the edges of the bottom of these ladders. Yeah, you could do this with a ratchet, but this saves so much time. And this is just a little quarter drive impact. I don't know how many foot-pounds it puts out, but it's just enough usually to tighten things down without breaking these bolts, because some of these bolts are not graded that you get from these Chinese kind of import things. So, you know, you don't want to ever use your 1/2-inch impact on these, or even my 3/8 I think would be too much. I think I'd break those as well or strip them out. So this is just the perfect size, little 12 volt. Okay, see that little nut in there? This one's not hard to get to, but these other 2 are hard to get to. So in order for me to get this off quickly, we're going to change that out. Let's update that. So we're getting rid of that and that. We're adding this M8 by 1.25 pitch, 40 millimeters. I wish I'd gotten 45 or 50 millimeters, maybe more like 50 millimeters, because this would probably fit a lot better. Because I wanted to be able to put the washer on easily from the top here. And I can still reach that, but if it was a little bit taller, it would be better. Just make that a little bit easier. Okay, and this is a M8 by 1.25 thread pitch coupler nut, which is a little easier to put on right up here because I can reach the bolt and thread it on like that. Okay, and that's what that looks like. It's going to be a lot easier to get on and off than trying to fiddle with things that you can barely reach. Okay, like way down there and way down there. Let's get those changed. Now, this is a lot of weight. This thing weighs 150 pounds. Most of it's up high. I mean, very little of it's on the side here. So this makes this top heavy. It's already top heavy because this fiberglass top is a lot of weight. So, you know, if this goes on a search and rescue mission up that mountain right there, there's some serious off-camber stuff and off-camber obstacles that this will roll off of. We want to try to minimize the weight. So my goal is to be able to remove it quickly. But otherwise it looks pretty good. We'll have to do another video on how we wire this and what control that I'm going to use to wire it in so we can control it from the cab. Wow, that's pretty substantial. Okay, it does work as a ladder. You know, I'm $185, $190 on around the holidays. So yeah, that's not touching the roof. So I think the way we tightened it up did the business. That did the job. So got this rack installed back here. This is not anything really to make a video about. It's 2 bolts up here that hold it down. These are also the same bolts that hold the top on, and also incidentally the same bolts, 2 bolts, or actually 3 bolts that hold these side brackets on for this rack right here, right? So basically you just use 2 of those bolts in the rear though. I had to get longer bolts than the factory ones. So, you know, just get some longer ones that'll actually reach through that bracket, and then your bracket that you put in right here as well. It's got to reach all that and then reach the nut down here, the captured nut. So you'll just have to get some longer bolts for that, no big deal. But this is a pretty sturdy rack. You know, you can kind of pull on it and it doesn't really wiggle around. It'll be nice for holding soft stuff like this, you know, this get home bag, or this is kind of my snow survival gear where I have a heavy jacket, fleeces, you know, wool socks, all that kind of stuff, extra hats. In case I do break down and get stuck somewhere, I can at least stay warm. We'll put other stuff up here like this recovery rope and maybe some other stuff. But the biggest reason I got it is to put this compressor up here, hard mount my compressor right here. So this will be an upcoming video. So be sure to subscribe to watch for this. This will be a lot of fun. What we're going to do is hard mount the compressor here and then hard mount hard mount hoses to each corner of the vehicle. And so where I'm going to drill the holes, I've got to figure all that out, where I'm going to pass the line, how easy it's going to be, where I'm going to route all that. I've got to bring some heavy duty wire from the battery as well back here to bring it to the compressor so that we can keep the compressor in here, keep it clean, and keep it out of the weather. And then once we get the little quick connects hoses run and get the quick connects, I'm probably going to put them like right here. I'm sorry, baby, I didn't see you there. We're going to put them like right here so I can just put in a little quick stub hose, pop it in there, and then pop it in a tire and air it up or air it down, right? So we can do 4 tire inflation and deflation real easily. This 4 tire inflator deflator hose system that I made some videos on. It's been a lot of fun. It works really well. It's very fast, but I think we can get some speed with just these little short pigtail hoses if that's all we have to hook up, and also take up less space in the back. So that'll be nice. That's a video that'll be coming up, so be sure to look for that. Yeah, so hopefully this helps you guys. If you're thinking about getting this rack for your Jeep, just know that it's a lot of weight up top, but it's very doable. You can do it by yourself. You don't have to get somebody to lift it up on top. It takes a little bit longer to build it on top, I'm sure, but it went just fine. And hopefully this will help you, because these racks, apparently most of them don't come with directions. So hopefully this will give you some ideas and tips on how to get yours on and how to make it work for you. All right, thanks for watching.